In the past hour, President Biden wrapped up a speech in Philadelphia on what he called a battle for the soul of the nation. The primetime address was largely about criticizing extremist Republicans, not really about substantive policy. But on the policy front, we did a segment this week on the Biden administration's effort to wipe out student debt. We analyzed why it likely would not survive a legal challenge. And it got me thinking about other major policy actions taken by the president so far during the 19 months of the administration and what happened to them. And there sure seems to be a theme. Those bold actions are getting thrown out by the courts. First, during the height of the COVID pandemic, there was the federal eviction moratorium. Using authority given to the CDC, the White House prohibited landlords from removing tenants who didn't pay rent. Also during COVID, there was the vaccine mandate requiring workers at larger companies to get the shot or submit to regular testing. Refuse, you lose your job. In that case, the administration ordered it through OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. More recently, President Biden ordered the EPA power generation to shift away from fossil fuels like coal and natural gas to cleaner sources. And just this month, President Biden announced student loan borrowers can have up to $20,000 of debt wiped away. Big, dramatic agenda stuff. But the eviction moratorium, the vaccine mandate, the EPA power mandate, all thrown out by the courts. And as we discussed, many legal scholars suspect the student loan relief program will be next. In each of these four instances, President Biden chose to impose the policies through executive orders, which are then enforced through federal agencies. They're not laws. None of them first passed through the halls of Congress or underwent debate. They received the president's signature, and that is why they got nixed by the courts. In fact, President Biden was signing executive actions at such a rapid clip in the opening days of the administration. Even the New York Times published this editorial, "Ease up on the executive actions, Joe." The federal eviction moratorium is a good example. On March 27, 2020, under the pandemic's CARES Act, the federal government imposed a nationwide ban on renter evictions. The policy's purpose, as stated, was to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Well, that expired in late summer, when the CDC stepped in and imposed another moratorium, again under the auspices of a pandemic emergency. The administration was looking for cover to extend the policy, and it found it in the CDC. From the get-go, many legal experts wondered, where does the CDC get its authority to regulate private landlords, and how long can this go on? Supreme Court wondered that as well and put the White House on notice. The court, in an 8-page opinion, wrote, quote, "If a federally imposed moratorium is to continue, Congress must specifically authorize it." Well, ultimately, there was no legislation, and the Supreme Court blocked the moratorium. That's how it ended. The court slapped the hand of the administration. But the White House, in using executive action, was able to have its eviction moratorium in place essentially for a year and a half. They got the moratorium they wanted, and to many supporting the president, that's a win. But I think imposing policies that will very likely be struck down by the courts isn't good or noble. It's an effort at an end run by a president who doesn't have the power. Now, to be fair, President Trump did this as well, with the DACA administration, the immigration program, separating migrant parents from children, adding a citizenship question to the 2020 census. Those got struck down by the courts. But Biden promised to be different. And yet the Supreme Court's ruling on the vaccine mandate offered the sort of scolding the White House should have expected. Quote, "Although Congress has indisputably given OSHA the power to regulate occupational dangers, it has not given that agency the power to regulate public health more broadly." Requiring the vaccination of 84 million Americans selected simply because they work for employers with more than 100 employees certainly falls in the latter category. We predicted that the court was going to do that. And when the Biden administration tried to force power generators to use more clean energy sources, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote, "A decision of such magnitude and consequence rests with Congress itself." It just feels like maybe the administration doesn't care. They get their political credit or getting it through or trying, and then they can just blame it on the courts. But that's a cop-out. They know what's going to happen. They know this student debt order will almost certainly get tossed. But they're moving full steam ahead. Let's bring in Ilya Shapiro, Manhattan Institute's Director of Constitutional Studies and author of Supreme Disorder, Judicial Nominations and the Politics of America's Highest Court. Thanks for coming on the program. Appreciate it. All right, what do you think is going on here? Do you think they actually know that the courts are going to strike it down and they're thinking, hey, all right, well, for the year or whatever, as it's working its way through the courts, we'll have it?
Yeah, Dan, good to be with you. I don't think I disagreed with anything that you said in outlining this segment. It's a cynical governance ploy where the president gets to say, look, I tried to do this, and those big bad courts with that, by the way, Republican appointed majority struck me down. So go blame them. I'm trying to do good by the American people, and I keep getting frustrated. But, you know, it's a continuation of this pen and phone and tweet governance. Doesn't just go back to Trump, but, you know, President Obama said 22 times he's the president. He's not the king. He can't just legalize people who are in the country illegally. And then he went ahead and did it anyway. And that's one of many, many examples like that. Congress can't seem to pass anything short of just spending money.
Right, that's the problem.
And so the president decides that when Congress won't act, I get more power.
Right.
It's ludicrous.
Right. I mean, that's the problem, right, is that the presidents keep saying again and again, well, Congress won't do anything. And if Congress isn't going to do anything, then I'm going to act. Well, okay, but that's not really an appropriate or constitutional answer, right?
That's right. I think it's contributed to the toxicity of our public discourse, to the polarization. Each side likes their strongman to do the things that they want him to do, regardless of what Congress does. And in both the Biden and Trump and Obama, and I think in Bush cases, Congress had rejected certain types of policies that the president then went ahead and had a creative lawyer team kind of squint and wave their hands and invoke some sort of magic words and say, all right, I get the power to do this anyway. One time, I think President Biden, I think with the eviction moratorium, even ignored his Justice Department and called up Larry Tribe of Harvard Law School to approve that kind of action. So yes, it's cynical, it's clearly unconstitutional, and it's buck passing. Congress passes the buck to administrative agencies, who in turn do stuff that the courts are then forced to struck down.
Real quick, I'm out of time, but you think that the debt relief executive order is going to be struck down by the courts too?
Assuming someone can have standing, and I'm seeing states now saying they will tax that debt relief. So this is going into the courts, where I'd put it at, 99.5% that it gets struck down.
We had a law professor on who said the banks could potentially sue because of the money that they make on interest, et cetera, on these loans. So thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.